Well, hey there, Internet people, and welcome back to Green Gaming. It's Friday, so that means it's time for another gameplay video. And so today we are running through the second scenario in the Rangers of Shadowdeep core rulebook. This is a continuation of the campaign we started last week. So if you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. So glad you're here. But you might want to go back and watch the first video in this campaign. It gives a little bit better explanation of how the game works, plus you get to see the whole adventure. You're more than welcome to continue on here. I just am hoping to avoid any confusion for the newbies. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. And it's so good to see you again. But either way, whether you're new, whether you're returning, we're going to do a quick recap of the last scenario. So what happened there was our player character, our ranger, Tywin Quickblade, rounded up a posse and decided to go off to find out what happened to a missing ranger named Aventine. His trail led us to a seemingly deserted village in the middle of nowhere. And when we went in to check it out and search the place, turns out the village was not as deserted as it looked. It was in fact filled with the reanimated corpses of the villagers. So our ranger and his friends ended up searching the village while fending off the very bitey corpses. We found a variety of things. We found some items, we found some dead people, we found a still surviving villager, although he ended up doing nothing but sitting in a house screaming his head off. We did ultimately find Aventine's body. We were able to recover his magic sword. Lady Gwyneth Lady Gwyneth is our rogue for you newbies. She ended up finding the body and recovering the sword, and she'll have handed that off to our ranger for this next scenario. As I mentioned in the last video, we are not able to swap out companions between scenarios, and because this is a continuation of the same mission, and that's important because another thing that happened in the last scenario was our guardsman Gerard, our long-suffering cop buddy, got himself eaten by a bunch of zombies, so it turns out he's not as long-suffering as we thought. Our magic user Archibald will be starting off this game a bit injured, so will our ranger, but the story link between this scenario and the last one is, some of you may remember near the end of the last scenario, our tracker Bryn was able to spot and identify some footprints leading out of the village, and he was able to figure out what they were. As it turns out, the village has been attacked by this strange new breed of giant spiders that seem to, the venom that they inject people with seems to turn them into zombies somehow. It's unclear if this is a naturally occurring phenomenon, or perhaps the first signs of the Shadowdeep starting to affect the wildlife. But either way, there's a pack of zombie-creating spiders living in the woods near that village, and regardless of whether or not we have figured out what happened to Aventine, Tywin has determined that our job is not done until we deal with the spiders. Now, for those of you who are as arachnophobic as I am, don't worry, I'm not actually going to be using any spider models. I'm super not okay with spiders, so I'll just be swapping in some Tyrannid models that a buddy of mine painted up for me. But with all of that out of the way, before we get into things, I would just like to remind you guys that I am just getting started out on YouTube, so if you could maybe help me out with a quick like, maybe consider subscribing, come back for more adventures of Tywin and his friends, assuming they survive this scenario. I would really appreciate it. We must do everything we can to praise Algoritmo. But anyways, with all that shameless self-promotion out the way, let's just get into it. Alright, and here we are with Scenario 2, The Infected Trees. Let's start off by just giving you the quick story blurb out of the book. Examining the bodies of the zombies, along with the other clues from the village, left little doubt. The village had been attacked by some horrific species of giant spider, whose venom reanimated the dead. Thankfully, such creatures move slowly. Likely, they will have retreated to the nearest shelter to slowly feast upon the missing villagers. Your duty is clear. Take just enough time to patch up your wounds, and make a quick pyre for the dead. You set off after the spiders, following their faint but unique tracks. After nearly a day's pursuit, the tracks lead into a small forest. Chances are the spiders are not too deep in the woods. You must find them, destroy them, and any nests they may have made. And if you are lucky, rescue any survivors. Below that, we just have a quick blurb about the setup for this scenario. The long and short of it, this is played on a 2.5 by 2.5 table, so 30 inches in each direction. We have to place 4 nest trees at one edge of the table. Our player characters are going to start out at the opposite table edge. And there should be a total of 5 web cocoons that are just randomly placed on the table. The first one is placed at the center of the board. The other 4 are randomized around the table. We also place 5 giant spiders on the table. 3 should be next to nest trees, and the other 2 should just be placed next to web cocoons. The only other real setup rules are that we have to pick a model to make a target number 12 tracking roll, and then another one to make a survival roll. Oh, and the one last thing, our player characters must begin within 3 inches of one of their table edges. So, coming over real quick to the actual table, over here we have Tywin and Archibald, Thaddeus, Gwyneth, and Bryn, all within 3 inches of this table edge on our left. And over here, we have our nest trees on our right table edge. You'll notice there's a couple like ruined building walls over here. This is really just to mark the edge of the playable space. You'll notice there's literally nothing beyond it. So all of this effectively doesn't exist. So we're just playing from here onwards. One quick thing that I forgot to do in the last game was let you guys know where any of this terrain comes from. Unfortunately, for this game, a lot of the terrain I'm using is from super generic sources. You know, these evergreens here came from Amazon. These trees and these trees came from Etsy. The hill, I'm pretty sure I got off eBay. Even the ruins marking the border, just got those by Googling tabletop miniature terrain, and this is what popped up. The only items on here that I can give you any specific directions towards are this boulder and this clump of trees that I'm using as nests. I got those from a website called Legends of Signum, which is the dedicated site for a game called, super original, Legends of Signum. I've never actually played the game, I have no idea how it works, but they've got a pretty cool miniature range, so check them out. But with that out of the way, yeah, we've got our 5 monsters set up on the table so far. There will almost certainly be more coming. And we have our heroes over here. But first things first, we need to pick a character to make a tracking roll. And this is meant to kind of determine how long it took us to get here, if we really took our sweet time or got here Johnny on the spot. So our tracker, Bryn, is going to be making our tracking roll. Go figure. He's got a +5 to this, so the target number is 12. He rolls a 9, plus the 5 in his tracking roll, gives us a total of 14. So that is a successful tracking roll. Pretty straightforward. Like I said, because we have passed our tracking roll, we get to remove one of the enemy models from the table. There's 5 of them. I'm just going to randomize with, Buddy Boy in the center being 1, his friend at the other cocoon being 2, then 3, 4, and 5. If I roll a 6, I'll just re-roll it. So we roll a 2. So Buddy Boy by the cocoon goes bye-bye. Which, is less experience for me, but whatever. It means I'm getting bum-rushed by a little bit fewer spiders. Now, one thing I should also remind you guys, I'm super arachnophobic, so instead of spiders, we're just using hormagaunts from 40k. And a quick shout-out to my friend Evan for painting them up for me, because I think he did a pretty fantastic job. But with that out of the way, we need to now make our survival roll, and actually we're going to have Tywin make this one. He's got a survival of +3, target number 12, and sure enough, he has rolled an 11, +3 is a 14. I'm pretty sure that's 2 14s in a row. But yeah, so he has successfully found a dose of Farlight leaves. I'm going to have to look up in the book what those actually do, but not a bad way to start the game. Anyways, we are now in that actually finishes up any of the prep work, and with that, I will see you guys at the top of turn 1. And here we are at the top of turn 1, going right into the Ranger phase. We have Tywin. He's not really close enough to group activate with any of these guys over here, so he's just going to be group activating with our Magic Man. And so, first move is just going to be to get 7 inches up the board, ending up right next to our spider cocoon. Remember to moving his wound marker, because neither he nor Archibald have fully healed from the last scenario. The mission specifically says that they can heal 4 wounds. So Archie here went from 2 to 6 wounds. Tywin went from 12 to 16. But we're also going to just move Archibald up 6 inches, so a little bit behind. And then for second actions, our Ranger is going to cut open that cocoon with his big sword. Or, I guess it's only a one-handed weapon, so not that big. And he rolls a 6. So let's check the rule book, because we no longer need this. This front page is literally just the map of the proposed scenario, letting you know, hey, here's where the cocoon should be, here's where the nest should be, and don't forget to throw down some terrain. So it's the setup rules, the map, and some special rules over here. But over here is where the stuff we actually care about now is. So we've rolled on the web cocoon chart, because only in a game like this could that even be such a thing. We rolled a 6, so on a result of 1 to 8, we get a dead body. There's nothing can be done for this poor soul. So, yes, our Ranger has spent an action finding a dead guy. But hey, that's 1 less cocoon on the table. And then Archibald, for his second action, we've got a spider who is looking awfully shootable right up there, so we're actually going to have Archie snap off his magic bolt spell. So yes, we're just going to have him try to light up that spider on the hilltop over there. So, on an opposed roll-off, Archie gets a +3 to these, because the spell specifically says it's a +3 attack. So his 14 becomes a 17, and the spider rolled a 1. So yeah, spider suffers critical magic failure. So that is 1 spider killed, removed from play. So we've actually, between how quickly we showed up here and a quick and effective use of a spell, we've actually cleared the entire front line of zombies. Or not zombies, spiders. Still having flashbacks to Gerard getting killed in the last scenario. But that brings us to the end of our Ranger phase, because Tywin's second action was cutting open the cocoon. Now we just go to the creature phase. And since our guys here are the closest enemies, these spiders have a movement of 6 inches, so they're not going to be able to get into combat with their first move, so they're just going to be double moving. They have a movement of 6, so a double move of 9. So for our bud here, he leaps out from his nest to right about there. Kind of hoping to close the distance with our Ranger. Buddy boy here, our middle spider, is still closer to our Ranger than anybody else. So zooming out a little bit, his 9 inches gets him to right about where his friend was when he died. And then over here, we are just going to have this guy move directly towards our companion characters. So yeah, he's just going to move 9 inches that away. But that brings us to the end of the creature phase, where they effectively all just blitzed right at us. Brings us to the companion phase, where we are going to have our rogue, Lady Gwyneth, move her 7 inches up to here. Trying not to knock over Thaddeus while she does it. Actually, let's make sure that was actually within 7 inches. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely within 7. Okay, so well, that makes it to the second of our cocoons. We're going to try and get these off the board as quickly as possible. She has rolled a 10. So let's come back over to our web cocoon table, where a 10, or a result anything from 9 to 13, equals a survivor. You have found a badly wounded but living villager. Treat this figure as one of your companions with the following stats: move of 3, fight of 0, armor of 10, and health of 5. So we have to put a helpless civilian on the table. So don't mind this completely innocuous panoramic shot. I'm definitely not reaching over for a civilian model. So yes, we remove this cotton ball / cocoon, and we put down our friendly neighborhood blacksmith. So yes, this is just a mini I picked up from my comic book store nearby, and that is actually Gwyneth's both of her actions. So technically done out of sequence, but it's fine. I won't tell if you won't. And then our bird Thaddeus is... I'm actually not going to play too fast and loose with him. I'm not trying to see my bird die. So we're just going to have him kind of fly over here next to our newly discovered blacksmith. Or, I mean, he's a guy with a hammer. I'm going to go ahead. And you know what? In a fantasy setting, if you're a guy with a hammer, you're a blacksmith. It's fine. And then, last but not least, we're just going to have Bryn move up his 7 inches... and a little bit more because he's taking both of his actions. And he's just going to move like that. Now, crucially, this game does make it clear you can pass through friendly models during your movement. You just can't end in the same space that they occupy. But with that all done, fairly quick turn. We found a dead body and a survivor. And now we come over to the event phase, so the dreaded deck of stuff happening. And we get a 6. I don't know what that means. So let's come over here to, let's see what our red 6 is. Ray of Light. A bright ray of sunlight shines down through the trees above. Pick any giant spider on the table and move it 6 inches in any direction you choose. You may even choose a giant spider that is currently in combat. Well, none of them are in combat right now. But we come back over to our table. And let's see. Which one of these do I think I would like to move? That's actually going to be kind of a tough one. We're just going to take... We're actually going to take Buddy Boy on the hill over here. And we're just going to move him down next to his friend. Get them nice and close. Because our ranger here just happens to have a Molotov cocktail that he picked up in the village. So that'll be fun. But with that, we have resolved our event phase. And that brings us to the end of turn 1. I'll see you guys at the top of turn 2. Alright, here we are at the top of turn 2. A little recap of the situation. We have Tywin and Archibald moving up the board. Our clutch of companions over here clustered around our recently rescued villager, and a pair of dreaded enemies. I'm just going to move this tree over so it's not blocking our view so much. Yeah, so we have a nice clear straight line between the two, and actually we are in our ranger phase, so once again we will be group activating with Tywin and Archibald. So let's see, distance between them is right at 8 inches. Pardon me as I knock over the forest. But yeah, so now we are exactly 8 inches between Tywin and our enemies. So his first action is just going to be to throw a Molotov at them, which means he gets to make he's just going to pick the spot right between them, which means he gets to pick any two... he can pick any spot within 8 inches, and all enemies within 2 inches of that spot take a +3 shooting attack. So effectively, he gets a fireball spell, but with slightly less range. So I guess against our spider right here, we'll make our first attack his +2 shooting attack against fight +0. Don't mind me as I knock over our wizard's wound markers. Okay, so that becomes a 17 with the +2 versus a 2. So our spider clearly was not expecting fire in this forest. And suffers critical damage. He is dead. And then, because, again, this is an area of effect weapon, we also get to make an attack roll against the other spider. So, again, let's just fight +2. Okay! Apparently, Tywin is just really good at throwing Molotovs, because he has just beamed these guys in the face, because that's a natural 20, becomes a 22, becomes a 27. Yeah, I have bad news, Mr. Spider. You've just burned to death. So, wow, yeah, that was a really effective Molotov. Oh, wow. Who knew fire was going to be such an effective weapon in the woods? But with that, Archibald finds a sudden lack of enemies to his front, so he's just going to move up both of his actions. Just move up like so, ending up within striking distance not only of a cocoon, but of the first nest. And then Tywin is actually going to take his second action to just head up onto this hill, take a bit more commanding and central of a presence. And I have successfully balanced him on the hill without breaking the models, so it's a minor miracle. But yeah, that brings us to the end of a pretty effective ranger phase. Although now I have to do some measuring to see if... Let's see if we can't figure out who is now closer. He is just out of 9 from the spider. Bryn is just at 10. So Tywin has made himself the nearest target of opportunity for our spider. Sorry about that, just rearranging some trees I knocked over. He is just out of 9 inches from the spider. So the spider, seeing a plume of flame and the cries of his kindred, comes charging up the hill, not quite making it to the ranger who has slaughtered his companions. But yeah, that'll bring us to the end of the creature phase, because there's only one creature on the board. Unfortunately, I don't think our companions are going to be able to make too much progress. Bryn is going to move up his 10.5, ending up just near there. Gwyneth is going to do much the same, ending up more like that. Thaddeus, our crow, is just going to stay close to Bryn. And our buddy boy here actually only has a 7.5-inch move, so he's going to end up just behind Thaddeus. Now, a quick note, Thaddeus, if he wanted to, could be moving much faster. He has a base move of 9, so a 13.5-inch move total. I just don't feel like sending him off on by himself. He's a support character, so we're just going to leave him to support people. But that brings us to the end of our companion phase, which means it's the end of turn 2. It'd be helpful if I actually remembered to move my wound markers. And then it means it's time for the dreaded event phase. So we have drawn a red 3. Although, I say dreaded, that last event was actually not so bad. But let's come over to the Book of Many Things. And what is a red 3 bringing us? Web. I already don't like this. Roll for a random member of the company. The figure has become entangled in a giant web. At the start of each turn, it must make a strength roll of target number 12. If it fails, it cannot activate in the coming turn. If it succeeds, it activates as normal and does not have to roll again. Awesome. So, we have exactly 6 models in the party, so we just roll a quick d6, and we're just going to move clockwise. Or, not clockwise, we're going to move from nearest to farthest. For the 6th one, which will be Gwyneth. Figures. Awesome. So she gets to make a... So Gwyneth is the farthest away, so that 6 means she's the one who gets to make this strength check. Target number 12. Oh, not so much. She rolls a natural 1. So she will not be activating this turn. Awesome. And unfortunately, from the wording of that, it sounds like she's going to have to make that strength check every turn until she makes it. So we might be here a minute. But with that resolved, that brings us to the end of turn 2. See you guys at the top of turn 3. Alright, here we are at the top of turn 3. A quick sweep of the board to remind you guys what's going on. We've got Archibald more or less moving up the board unopposed. We have Tywin over here drawing the attention of the last spider on the table. And then we have our companions over here. Thaddeus sitting pretty, Bryn doing alright. And then Gwyneth has just gotten herself tangled in some webs. Fun stuff. And then we just have our villager who's really just happy to be here. But we are starting off with our ranger phase, where unfortunately Tywin is now not close enough to anyone for group activation. So his first action is going to just be to bump forward. He's trying to claim the high ground, because he'll be damned if he'll be Anakin in this situation. But yes, he's going to take a quick swing at that spider for his second action. So he is... A quick thing to remember, guys, since this is actually his first melee of the scenario, he is currently carrying the Sword of Aventine from the last scenario, so he is now a fight +4. Oh, which does not really seem to help him, because our enemy has rolled a 15, and even with a +4, he's rolled a 6. He's rolled a total of 10. So he could take 3 damage. Oh, I really don't feel like... I actually super don't want that to happen, because these spiders are poison, and he'll go down to one action per activation. So we're going to go ahead and Hand of Fate that, see if we can't do better, and it pays off for us. So yes, for the record, we have used our once per game Hand of Fate reroll, and it has worked out for us, because that 10 goes to... I've rolled a natural 19, +4 is 23, becomes a 28, becomes a really, really dead spider. So yeah, he had a Puss in Boots moments where, unfortunately, he died. But then he lived! And he has successfully chopped a venomous spider apart. One sympathizes. But yeah, that brings us to the end of our ranger phase, because it was 1 action move, 1 action delete. That takes us to the end of the ranger phase. There now is no creature phase, because the creatures are all dead. And then we're just going to come into our companion phase, where Archie's first action is going to be to move up to the cocoon, bringing his wounds with him. We're going to roll real quick to see what's in there. A 15. Unfortunately, I don't think that's a good thing. No, 14 to 20 is a zombie. So we place a zombie anywhere I wish within 2 of the figure that did the searching. Great. So we searched this cocoon, and instead of finding a person, we found a horrible zombie. Awesome. But you know what? At least we did that in the companion phase, so Tywin is at least going to get a chance to react here. I don't know how much that's going to amount to, but every little bit helps. So we have a horrible zombie looking at Archie like he's a snack. And then real quick, we're just going to have our villager try to open up that cocoon. Definitely not performing Operation Meat Shield. Rolls a 10 on his search roll, which is another survivor. And so again, we're going to have another totally innocuous panoramic shot, as I'm definitely not reaching for another civilian model. And lo and behold, we found the village priest. Just another generic civilian model, came in the same set as the blacksmith. But that is our 4th cocoon out of the way. And so our one survivor has spent his second action finding a second survivor. And then Gwyneth is immobile for the moment. Oh, we're gonna have Bryn move up. So 7 inches is actually gonna get him to the nest. And his second action is going to be set that nest ablaze. Because that, if I didn't cover, in case I forgot to cover it at the beginning of the scenario, the way you destroy these nests is literally you just spend one of your actions while within an inch of one of the nests, or I guess base contact. His 7 inches was more than enough to get him there. So yeah, his second action is destroying the nest occupying those trees. So excellent. 1 nest tree down, 3 nests to go. But only other thing really to do here is we're going to have Thaddeus move up to support his buddy Bryn. Could have sworn he was supposed to be Tywin's pet bird, but whatever. And that brings us to the end of our companion phase. We are tearing through these turns. But we are going to draw from the dreaded deck of happenings. And we draw a red 5. No idea what that means, but let's find out, shall we? Of course, nest tree. Place another nest tree on the table 12 inches from the center point of the table in a random direction. Place 1 giant spider and 1 treasure token adjacent to it. Okay, so I'm actually going to have to do some thinking about how I'm going to do that, but I will come back to you guys at the top of turn 4 when I've got that figured out. And here we are at the top of turn 4. The way we resolved the last turn's event phase is this, we randomized a direction, and rather than put down a new tree, it just turns out this tree is now a nest. It turns out we thought all the nests were over here. We all thought all the nests were right along this line. Turns out there's another one right there that we didn't even notice. And crucially, the event blurb says we also have to put a treasure token and a monster next to that tree. So here we have our treasure token, just a random model I have laying around from, I believe, a terrain crate I bought. And then we have another giant spider coming out of the tree. So we are now in the ranger phase, and the question becomes, do I come help with the zombie problem, or do I deal with the new spider? Ooh, that's actually kind of a tough one. So yeah, I'm gonna go with fighting the zombie because Archibald leaving our spellcaster to fend for himself doesn't sound like a very good idea. So we're just gonna have Tywin spend both of his actions getting into base contact with our zombie, remembering to keep his marker with him. So yes, we are now back in base contact with our zombie. That actually is the end of our ranger phase because that's both of his actions, and he wasn't close enough to group activate with anyone. So that brings us to the creature phase. We have to do with the creature closest to our companions first, which is the zombie currently in base contact with our ranger. So he is now going to swing on our ranger. We're just going to come over here, roll our attack dice, and it's a tie, but Tywin does have a +4 to his, so Tywin does win, but zombies have an armor of 12, so his total of 8 does nothing. I could force him back, but there's not really a reason to. So we're just going to stay locked in combat with the zombie. Unfortunately, that does mean that we're over to our spider. Oh, real quick, before we go any further, Gwyneth needs to make a strength check to see if she can't activate this turn. No, again, she rolls a natural 1, so she will not be activating this turn. Which is unfortunate, because a zombie is about to attack her. Or not a zombie, a spider. Spooky Spoder comes right at her. She has a fight of 0, so she is just going to fight 0 to fight 0. It's not that she cares. Gwyneth has rolled a natural 20, which becomes a 25 damage, but even with her dagger reducing that down to 24 damage, that is still this spider suffering critical existence failure. So, yeetus deletus. Am I right, my fellow kids? But yeah, that creature phase actually went really well. What does that say when the creature phase goes better for me than it does for the creatures? But that brings us to the companion phase, where we're going to start off with Archie. I know Tywin just came to save him and everything, but rather than help Tywin out, he's just going to come over here and use his torch to set this nest on fire. So one less nest for us to worry about, because we have to remember, folks, that is the actual mission here. Coming over to our companions on the other end of the board. Yeah, well, let's see. Gwyneth doesn't get to activate. Our companions are just gonna huddle behind her, seeing that she is clearly the ultimate warrior who one-shots spiders like it's cool. The real question becomes, what is Bryn doing? Bryn is gonna move backwards to deal with this new ooze nest, and he's gonna set this nest on fire. So that's 2 nests down, 3 technically, but yes, we have now removed yet another one. He's not currently in, because he is next to that treasure token. He'll be able to pick it up next turn, but won't be able to pick it up this turn because it was a single action for move and a single action to blow up. Or not blow, but burn down a nest. So if he wants to get that treasure token, he's going to have to do it next turn. And again, not wanting anyone to be a hero, Thaddeus is just going to come over here and support his buddy. Because I'm just going to go ahead and say it now, as resourceful as Thaddeus was in the last scenario, I don't think he can set nests on fire. The game is pretty clear about animal companions having limited abilities. But that brings us to the end of turn 4. We are already halfway through this, almost halfway through this scenario. So we come down to the dreaded deck of happenings, and we have a red 2. Let's find out what a red 2 is. Red 2 just says spider. Place a giant spider adjacent to a random nest tree. If there are no nest trees on the table, just put it at the center point. Okay, so kind of a good thing we burned out a bunch of these nests, because we just have kind of a 50-50, so we'll roll a d6, odds it goes here, evens it goes here. And that is a 4, which is even, so the new spider shows up right next to our ranger. Fun stuff. But yeah, things looking a little grim for Tywin, but for the party as a whole, things are actually kind of looking up. And yeah, we are going to come down to the bottom of turn... That brings us to the bottom of turn 4. I'll see you guys at the top of turn 5. Alright, here we are at the top of turn 5. Just give you a quick reminder of how things are looking. Where Archibald is over here, fresh off of setting a pile of rocks on fire. We have Tywin locked in deadly combat with a dreaded zombie. And where somehow his wound marker got knocked over. Not real sure how that happened, but... get that back up to where he is at 16, and then over here we have a spooky, nasty spoder just getting ready to do some damage. And, you know, Thaddeus and friends over here. But before we forget, Gwyneth once again needs to try to make a target number 12 strength check. See if she... Oh, and she finally does it. We get a 14. So Gwyneth can actually activate this turn. Excellent. Look at my companions actually, you know, doing things. But we start off in the ranger phase. No one's close enough to group activate, so it's just Tywin, like the proverbial cheese, standing alone. So he's just gonna use his magic sword that he found off his fellow ranger to swing on this awful zombie. Ooh, it could be worse, So, the zombie has rolled a 6, Tywin rolled a 5. His +4 makes that a 9. Unfortunately, zombies have an armor of 12, so he does no damage. Oh well, yeah, that's our ranger phase over with. And this is actually where the order of operations comes in somewhat relevant. Because we're now in the creature phase, and normally I would just get annoyed having to remember to activate the creatures that are closest first, but here it actually comes up because the zombie is now going to activate first, which means he's going to fight Tywin. If a player was doing this, you'd probably move in the spider first to give the zombie a gang-up bonus, but fortunately the AI isn't as smart as you and me. Don't mind me just dice rolling my way into being a lumberjack. So Tywin rolls a 6, again with his +4, that's just going to be a 10. They are armor 12, so he doesn't do any damage. And there's actually not any point in forcing the zombie back, because he'll just use his second activation to move back in. So, yeah. Zombie swings, Tywin hits him back, manages to kind of deflect with his shield, but doesn't do any damage. And then, for first activation, Spider comes in. For his second action, he's going to swing now with a fight +1. It's not an amazing roll, but it actually still somehow kind of works out for Tywin, because Tywin rolled a 3 to the Spider's 2. Tywin's becomes a 7 to the Spider's 3. Spiders have an armor of 6. Oh, no, an armor of 8. So, yeah, his roll of a 7 does no damage whatsoever. But yeah, I guess he's probably... No, he is going to force back the Spider, just to force him back an inch. And that's going to be... That's actually the creature phase. So both of them swung, and both of them got deflected off of Tywin's shield. Sorry, I'm over here knocking over trees. But yes, that brings us to the companion phase, and I don't actually know what I'm going to do with Archie over here. So we're just going to come over to Thaddeus and Friends. Yeah, we're going to have Bryn come over here and second action burn down this nest, because that just seems more important. We are going to have Thaddeus pick up the treasure, and we'll see what that is at the end of the scenario. Because, yes, you can have your bird pick up stuff. And then it comes down to Gwyneth, who is going to move her... She's going to have to double move to get over to this cocoon. But that's exactly what she's going to do. Because we might find another survivor. Or we might find another zombie, which, you know, this one is proving to be a pain in the butt, but oh well. Sorry, I had almost tripping over a chair over here. And then our two hapless companions are just going to move their 7.5 up here. Thaddeus moved and then picked up the treasure token, and now we come back to Archie, who I still don't really know what he's doing. Oh, Archie. We're going to have him take a step back, and then he's going to nominate, I don't know, this point over here. He's just going to nominate a point exactly 3 inches away from the zombie and the spoder. And he's going to drop a fireball spell. And that's why I'm nominating a point exactly 3 inches away, which is like up here on top of the boulder. His fireball will be just the right range to get rid of to hit the zombie and the spider, but not hit Tywin. So, this is effectively the same thing Tywin did with his Molotov, and let's hope that Archie gets the same great results. So, we're just going to come over to this handy-dandy empty space to roll. Oh, so rolling against the zombie has not gone well. The zombie clearly doesn't care about fire. But rolling against the spider. Okay, a 10 becomes a 13. Ooh, so the spider has an armor of 8. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, so armor of 8, health of 4. A 13 is just enough to kill him. We needed a 12. So, Spider does get incinerated by the flames. Again, who knew that fire would be so handy in a forest? So yeah, and so the zombie takes no damage, but the spider dies. And yeah, so actually, wow, good job, Archie. You're actually not doing half bad. He one-shotted a guy with his magic bolt, one-shotted another spider with his fireball. So yeah, okay. I mean, as far as spells go, not the most impressive, but whatever. We'll take what we can get. But with that, we have reached the end of our companion phase, and we come to the dreaded deck of happenings, where we have drawn a red 4. I'm trying to make that sound really menacing, but it's not really. Oh man, another web. Yeah, red 4 is web. Roll for a random member of the company. You guys know what this is. Except now we have some helpless villagers to take some of this on. Ooh, I actually don't have a dice big enough. So we are going to dig around in my dice thingy, my little dice bag, looking for a D10, and we have found one. Well, let's get one that's actually a color you guys can see. So we're going to have to re-roll rolls of 10, because we now have... Actually, never mind, we only need a D8, because we have 8 guys, right? We have Archie, 1, 2, 4... Oh, no, we only have 7. So we have 7 guys, so yeah, I only need a D8. So we are rolling a D8, re-rolling 8s, and we're literally... again, 1 will be Archie, 2 Tywin, and so on from closest to farthest. 3. It's Gwyneth again. She has to make another strength, because, yeah, a 3 is 1, 2, 3 is Gwyneth. So, once again, Gwyneth must make a strength check of 12. We're just going to do that right now. No, she rolls a 9, so she will not be activating in the next turn. Oh, Gwyneth. But yes, so that brings us to the end of turn 5. We are halfway through. I will see you guys at the top of turn 6. And here we are at the top of turn 6, where we have Tywin still tragically locked in combat with a zombie, our buddy Archie just hanging out now completely devoid of spells, and a single nest tree left, because our friend Bryn here has been on a bit of a rampage, setting 3 nests on fire. But we start off the Ranger phase, where, again, Archie is just not in range to group activate, so it's going to be Tywin activating all by his onesies. And he doesn't really have anything to do other than take a swing at Mr. Zombie, so we're just going to come right over here to this handy-dandy empty spot. Oof. Our zombie has won the roll-off, because apparently our Ranger is helpless against the undead. But, you know, again, has not rolled high enough to actually cause any damage, so Tywin's just going to stay locked in there for the rest of the companion phase, or for the rest of the Ranger phase. We move on to the creature phase, where the zombie will swing back at him. Okay, well, this... Again, Tywin has continuing a tradition of doing better in the enemy turn than in his own. He rolls a 15, which becomes a 19 with his +4, which, as I'm checking, is just 1 point more than he needed to one-shot this zombie. You know, couldn't have done this back in his own turn, where he could have then moved afterwards. But I'm not going to complain. He did the job. So yeah, that's the only creature we had on the table. We're actually, wow, these guys are actually cleaning house pretty well. Gwyneth cannot activate this turn. Bryn, sorry for knocking the camera there, guys. Bryn is within 7 of this nest tree. Let's measure that a little more neatly. Yeah, he is within 7 of this nest tree. His movement is 7, so he's just gonna boop on over here and burn down another nest. Because he has now burned down 4 of them all by his lonesome. So that is his 2 actions. Our villagers are just going to go up here and hide out with Gwyneth. They're still super impressed with the 1 spider she one-shotted. And Thaddeus is going to come over here with, showing off his shiny object that he has picked up. And that brings us to the end of our companion phase. Wow, this turn actually went by super quick, but we come down and we actually are down to the last card in the deck of many happenings. I'm probably just going to reshuffle the deck to have more events coming, because it feels a little lame to play out the last, 4 turns with no events. But let's draw this one real quick. So this is the red ace. Let's come over here and find out what the red ace is. It is another spider. Place a giant spider adjacent to a random nest tree. If there are no nest trees, place it at the center point of the table, which doesn't work out so great for our beleaguered companions, because the center point is right where that cotton ball is. So, yeah, that's where the last cocoon is, so there's now a spider staring Gwyneth in the face. Awesome stuff. So, yeah, our tracker Bryn, his hubris has actually led to our downfall. Got a little too big for his britches. But that brings us to the end of turn 6. I will see you guys at the top of turn 7. Alright, here we are at the top of turn 7. We have Tywin finally free of his zombie tormentor. Archie over here just happy to be alive. Bryn kind of gazing in triumph at the trail of destruction he has left with these 4 out of 5 nest trees he's destroyed. And Gwyneth staring down yet another spider coming to eat her newfound friends. Which reminds me, we need to make another strength check for her to see if she can even activate this turn. Gwyneth. She rolls a 2, so no, unfortunately she will not be doing anything this turn. That's rough. Man, that's the 3rd turn in this game. 3 out of 7 turns she hasn't got to do anything. Fortunately, we are in the Ranger phase, and Tywin is just within 7 inches of our arachnid enemy. So he's just going to come charging back up this hill. Although I have to imagine he's getting a little worn out now. This is the 2nd time he's gone charging up this hill. Went charging back down the hill to save Archie, now charging back up the hill after dealing with that annoying zombie. But anyways, such is the life of a ranger. So his first action is moving into base contact, and his second action is just going to be to roll his attack. So here we go. So 11 plus 4 becomes a 15. Spider is only armor of 8, so yeah, that 11 plus 4 is enough to delete our spider. Well, Tywin, at least you're good at something. Splatting the baddies. Falls over with exhaustion for his effort. I feel you, buddy. So that is his 2 actions. We're in the creature phase, but there's no creatures. So over to the companion phase, I feel like Archie is just feeling a little exposed out here all by himself. So he, back up to give you guys a little better view, he is going to move the 9 inches over to join his buddies. So yeah, he's just going to come up here, take the high ground, look around for any Darth Vaders who might have a problem with that. I promise I'll stop with the Star Wars jokes. But yeah, and then Bryn is just going to take Bryn over here is just going to take a double move to get up on the high ground with his companions. Actually, he's just going to take a single action move. Going to knock over his commanding officer. The insubordination already begins. But yeah, Bryn is going to come over here with a single action for his move, and he's actually going to open up that last cocoon since apparently Gwyneth is paralyzed with webbing. So let's roll real quick to see what that is. A 20. So, remind us again, dear table, what a 20 is. It's a zombie. Okay, guys. So, apparently, we're putting down another zombie. I have to put it down within 2 inches of the cocoon. Oof. So, we're just going to pull that out real quick. We've gotten all the cocoons. And there's now just a zombie, not quite in base contact with anyone. Gwyneth can't activate. Thaddeus, does Thaddeus want to be a hero? No, I don't feel like sacrificing Thaddeus. And our 2 villagers are just going to keep cowering in fear. And man, these turns are really starting to go by pretty quick. I now have to reshuffle the event deck, because like I said, I don't feel like having you guys sit around watching me do a whole lot of nothing for 4 turns. So yeah, I'm gonna reshuffle up the deck, and I will see you guys at the top of turn 8. Alright, here we are at the start of turn 8. Although, one thing I've just confused myself a little bit about is I only drew 6 event cards, but somehow got to the bottom of turn 7. So, if I managed to skip a turn without drawing an event card, I do apologize. I'm sure you all will let me know in the comments, but if I did, I do apologize. So, here we are at the start of turn 8, and we've actually done a pretty good job of things. We have cleared out all of our nests. We have even the one extra one we didn't know was here. And we've cleared out all of our enemies except for this one zombie just hanging out in the middle of all these minis. I would say things are looking pretty glum for him, but you never know with these zombies. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to group activate for the first time in several turns. Archibald, mostly just because I'm trying to clear out some of this board, his first action is going to be to get out of the way, just so I can clear some room for people to maneuver and make a less jumbled mess for you guys to look at. That's going to be his first action. Bryn's first action is going to be... He's not quite in combat, because in this game, if you're not touching bases, you're not in combat. So he's just going to point-blank try to fire his musket into the face of that zombie. So he's going to have his shoot of +3. Where did I put my d20s? Here we are. So his shoot of +3 to this zombie's +1, or +0, sorry. And wow, Bryn, in true fashion, his first attack... Actually, never mind. This is actually his first attack, I think. This is his first attack of the whole game. And has been a winner because he rolls an 18, becomes a 21, becomes a 26. So, yeah, he has just one-shotted this zombie. Go figure, a point-blank shot from a musket is enough to put down a reanimated corpse. So, yeah, that is one less creature for us to worry about. Sorry, I'm just rearranging my dead pile over here for a second. But yeah, okay, we have one-shotted our zombie. I was all ready for Tywin to come in and save the day. So Tywin instead is just going to come over here and, I don't know, shout war cries and be all manly and stuff I don't know how to do. There's no creature phase because the creatures are all dead. There's not really a companion phase because all of the objectives have been fulfilled. Alright, we come down at the bottom of turn 8 to the Deck of Many Happenings. The event phase, we get another red 4. I don't remember what that is. Oh, it's another web. Which reminds me, we forgot to roll for Gwyneth. So first let's roll for Gwyneth to see if she overcomes it. No, she is still webbed, so we're just going to go back to rolling a d6, because we're not going to double web Gwyneth. So, again, we're just going to go Archie for 1 and just kind of move up and to the left in terms of randomizing. 2, so Tywin now needs to make a check or he won't be able to activate. So it's a strength check. He is strength +3, so he needs a 9 or better. He rolls, of course, he rolls higher than 12 first try. Guys, we're trying not to reinforce stereotypes. But yes, Tywin will be ignoring the webbing, and that is the bottom. That gets us to the bottom of turn 8. We are almost through this, just 2 more turns to go. I will see you guys at the top of turn 9. Alright, here we are at the top of turn 9. There's actually not a lot to do in this turn with no objectives or enemies, so we're just going to roll real quick to see if Gwyneth unsticks herself. She finally manages it, so Gwyneth will be able to act normally again. And then we're really just jumping straight into the event phase, because, Tywin doesn't really feel like moving off his high ground, neither do any of his companions, so we're right over to the Deck of Many Happenings, where we've got ourselves a red 2. I'm pretty sure that's going to be another spider showing up in the middle of the board, but let me check. Yes, it is, in fact, another spider showing up in the middle of the board. Awesome stuff. So here's another spider showing up right where the zombie was. And that'll be a problem for Tywin to manage on his next turn. Yeah, so, that brings us to the bottom of turn 9. Wow, we're already at the bottom of turn 9. Alright, so that was the quickest turn in history. And, I'll see you guys at the top of the final turn of the game. Alright, here we are at the top of turn 10, last turn of the game. And the party is sitting pretty. I don't think we've taken any damage the whole game. This has actually gone shockingly well, guys. This doesn't bode well. I'm gonna wreck my car after I finish filming this song or something. I'm using up way too much of my luck today. But anyways, we are just gonna get to the top of the Ranger phase, and we're gonna have Tywin group activate with Bryn and Thaddeus. We're gonna start off with, see if Bryn can't recreate his success with the last enemy. He's just gonna level that musket of his into the face of our spider and see if he can't just delete him. Not quite. He hits a total of a 9, which will do 1 point of damage, but not quite enough to get him down. So the spider will have 3 wounds left, and we're just gonna remember that. Thaddeus' first action is going to be to get into combat, to kind of get into base contact. Ooh, and apparently knock Gwyneth down the side of a cliff. And then we're gonna come in here with Tywin, getting a. He's supposed to be in base contact. You guys get the gist. These Hormigaunt models can be something else to try and deal with in melee. So we're gonna have Tywin take his second action first. I mean, Bryn is literally just gonna stand there and reload his gun. Well, it's not really any point in reloading. He's just gonna come in here and give Tywin another gang up bonus. So Bryn's second action is to move in. Tywin's second action is to throw hands. So he's gonna have a total of +6 to his fight right now. So our spider rolls a 9. Which is also what our ranger rolls, but he's getting a +6 to this, so that will be a dead spoder. I have bad news, buddy. There we go. And with that, there is literally nothing else for any of our companions to do. Gwyneth is finally free just in time for it to not matter. And wow, Tywin actually showed up pretty hard today. Just doing a quick rundown of just to give you guys a quick reminder of how all this went down. Tywin started off over here, firebombed some guys over here, immediately charged the hill, took out another guy, came running back down, getting tied up with a zombie while our friend here yeeted some magic support. Meanwhile, the rest of the companions were also here. Their grand contribution was, I think Gwyneth took out a zombie that went running for our scared friends here, and Bryn literally just burned down the forest and then point blank shot a pair of guys in the face. But hey, then again, what are companions for if not shooting bad guys in the face? But yeah, that brings us to the bottom of turn 10. We are going to tabulate up our experience and see where that leaves us. And I'll let you guys know how that ended up. Alright, so tabulating up the experience, our heroes went from 98 experience at the end of our first scenario to 191. So they have way surpassed their first level up and just shy of their second level up. I say Tywin here is the only one who actually gets to level up, but the other 4 of them are all going to gain a progression point, putting them at 2 for 2. And we actually went through this entire scenario without taking any damage, which is shockingly good luck, particularly by my standards. But yeah, we have successfully destroyed all of our enemies and picked up almost 100 experience points burning everything down. The only thing left to resolve is this little shiny object that Thaddeus picked up. So, if you'll follow me, we are going to roll a quick d20. Let's try that again. So that's an 11. Another herbs and potion result. That's what we got last time. But let's see what we get. A 7 on the herbs and potions table. Oh, herbs and potion is right over here. 7 is quick beam root. Let's actually find out what that is. Okay, quick beam root. A figure that drinks this potion receives a +2 move, but a -2 will. Okay, that's actually not half bad. I'm gonna have to figure out which of these guys I'm gonna put that on, because a +2 move. We still have our Farlight leaf we found at the beginning of the scenario, but we have used up our Molotov cocktail. Such a shame. But yeah, that finishes off all of our progression for the end of the scenario, and I will see you guys in the outro. And it occurs to me that now that our ranger has leveled up, it might be a good time to let you guys know how leveling up works in this game. So, in Rangers of Shadowdeep, whenever your ranger gains a certain amount of experience, your ranger can level up, just like you'd see in any video game. Strictly speaking, only your ranger is capable of leveling up. Your companions are capable of progressing, but that's a whole other thing over here where for every scenario a companion survives without getting removed from action, they get a progression point. So right now, all of our companions that are still alive have 2 progression points, but they don't get their first benefit until they get 10. So it's going to be quite some time before any of our companions are going to be getting any kind of leveling up. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the first 5 level ups for our ranger happen just every 100 points. So he's going to be leveling up pretty quick in a lot of these early scenarios. So down here is a quick chart of what you get at respective levels. And basically you get the same 4 types of improvements just rotating through. So when you get up to level 1, which we just did, you get improved skills, which basically means you get a total of plus 5 of 5 skill points, but you can never put more than 2 of them into any one skill, which is sort of the game's way of trying to stop you from getting too good at any one thing too early. Because like we've only done 2 scenarios here, it would be a little ridiculous if we had somehow maxed out his stats so he's getting like a plus 20 in a stat. So the next time our hero levels up, we're gonna be we're gonna be improving our stats. And that's just it's gonna be what it sounds like. We've actually already maxed out his movement, so I guess next we'll probably, level up his fight or whatever, and that's something I'll need to think about, because he's almost certainly going to level up at the end of the next scenario, because he's only 9 points away from his next level. We earned a lot of XP this time, guys. And then, the level up after that would be getting more recruitment points, and then after that getting a new heroic ability, and then it just starts to repeat every four level ups. But that is the quick rundown of how leveling up works in Rangers of Shadowdeep. And there you have it, folks. We have reached the end of our second game of Rangers of Shadowdeep. We've finished the entire first mission. I dare say this second scenario went a little better than the last one, and given, nobody died. But our ranger, Tywin Quickblade, has successfully dealt with these horrible monsters that were plaguing this village, and ultimately killed our fellow ranger. So we've dealt with the threat, and can now report back to command, and wait for our next adventure. That'll be happening, should be our next Friday upload. And I'm looking forward to continuing on the tale of Tywin and his companions. We'll finally be able to get a replacement for our poor, now devoured guardsman friend. So I'll have to get another model prepped for this campaign, but that's no big deal. But other than that, guys, I really appreciate you making it all the way to the end of the video with me. It's been a pleasure playing through with you guys. Other than that, I'd just like to give you one more quick reminder to maybe give me a like, maybe consider subscribing, anything we can to praise Algorithmo. I am just starting out, as I keep saying to you guys, so anything you guys can do to help the channel would be much appreciated. Thank you. But yeah, I will see you guys next time. I look forward to seeing you down in the comments. I hope to see you in some of the other videos, but until then, happy wargaming.
Onward to glory!